episode is brought to you by SteelRoot, a national leader in helping companies meet cybersecurity compliance requirements and prepare for CMMC. Their experienced team of engineers and consultants assist organizations of all sizes to implement and manage IT systems that meet the technical requirements in DFARS and CMMC. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 123 CMMC. My name is Dana, and I will be your host. And today we have Ken Cikanovich, right?
Close enough. It's Cikanovich, chicken sandwich.
Chicken
Easy
sandwich.
enough.
Mr. Chicken Sandwich is with us today. This is great. All right. So, Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about yourself, your company, what you do?
Sure. So I'm the Senior Business Development Coordinator for Summit Business Technologies. We are a boutique managed service provider based out of Millersville, Maryland. We handle security, network support for small to medium businesses based out of the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia area.
Okay.
And I've been with the company for about a couple of years now.
All right, good. Well, nice to have you here. So today we're going to talk about security awareness training, everybody's favorite topic.
Yes.
So what is security awareness training? Let's start with that.
Sure. So security awareness training, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're training your employees to be aware to cybersecurity needs, ensuring that everyone is educated on potential security risks associated with their roles, and of course with their level of access. And then obviously some of the major or main avenues that people can get attacked by. So things like ransomware, malicious emails, USBs that you find on the side of the road. Definitely do not plug them ever into your computer whatsoever. And of course, everyone's favorite from over the years, the Nigerian prince looking for funding. As long as you send him $5,000 first, he'll send you 15 million. Making sure that people are aware of those things.
Mm-hmm. And, it's funny. I just did a video before on how we act so differently and we think so differently online than we do if somebody was literally doing the exact same thing face to face. In a lot of situations, we would look at them like they were crazy. Like even like following somebody online, like I'm going to follow you online. If you ever walked up to somebody and you're like, I'm just going to follow you. What do you need to do? Nothing. You just keep doing. I'm just going to watch you. I'm just going to follow you.
I believe that's grounds for a restraining order if we actually did that in person. But hey, Instagram, Facebook,
yeah, no problem. So that's one thing we need to do is we need to bring a little bit of the way we think when we're not in front of the screen to our thought process when we are online. That's at least what I have to add for that little bit. Okay.
Perfect, no.
Now is this something we really need to have, or is it just nice to have security training?
So for a lot of people, it could be considered a nice to have. However, if you are in the CMMC, Department of Defense world, which of course is where we are all sitting these days, it's actually a requirement. The current NIST 800-171 R2, and of course subsequently the CMMC ML3 detail both of those as required items for you to be able to be considered compliant with those two standards. So, while a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to have that, it'd be nice to have, be interesting to, really keep my people trained and up to date on everything. If you want to be compliant, you want to get that CMMC ML3, you've got to hit all of them. And they're detailed out. It's a small section, easy read if anyone wants to get into it, but 800-171, 3.2.1 through 3.2.3. detail everything that needs to go into it. Identifying security risks, the role-based training requirements, and then also, making sure your employees can identify insider threats and also report on it. And, a lot of people think that insider threats is someone sitting there going, you know what, I'm done with this company. I'm going to pull as much information as I can, put it on a thumb drive and get out of here. But it's also, identifying when there is a malicious email coming through or a suspicious, request that that maybe this isn't right. Maybe I should report it. I should, act about it differently. Maybe walk over to Dana's office and say, hey, Dana, did you really mean for me to send you $600 in Amazon gift cards?
Mm-hmm.
Because, it might not be Dana. It might be someone as they call spear phishing or pretending to be Dana, getting those funds.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time what they do with those is they really try to play off of the whole, oh, this is from my boss, so I need to follow the rules, but I need to make sure that I'm going to do this. I can't question them. So that's something that is the way they get in there. And another thing is never wire any money. If someone asks you like to wire money, if you're an office manager or somebody like that, and don't just reply to the email and say, are you sure you want me to do this? You need to verify a different way, like either go to their office, like you just said, or call them on the phone and have a conversation, because once it's gone, it's gone.
You're toast. You're toast, especially, if it's not a SWIFT, it's just a cash wire. That's gone. That's out the door. And there's no way to get that back.
Mm-hmm.
The other way they prey on it is not just, an email from the CEO. It's, hey, I need this in the next 5 minutes. And oh, by the way, I'm on an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
They'll put that in place so people suddenly freak out that, oh no, the CEO needs me to do this immediately and he's too busy to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a huge dollar figure, the CEO or whoever is asking for it is never too busy to handle these things.
And that's another thing I always say that the scammers play off of is that urgency. I mean, if we really look at our lives, how much stuff is happening right now? It has to get done right now, this exact minute. Not a lot, but when we do have urgent things, we're not thinking rationally, and they understand that the scammers know that. So that's why they try to make these things come across like they are really, really urgent things.
Absolutely. I mean, the only urgent thing in my life is when, Dinosaur Train goes off and my 4-year-old needs another episode. That's got to be handled immediately. But outside of that, it can wait a second.
Oh, boy. All right. So what is needed to have a compliant security awareness training program?
So real quick on those, it's got to be customizable. You've got to be able to measure the staff responses. And then, of course, it's got to be updated regularly. So by customizable, as we mentioned, 3.2.2 says it's got to be role-based training requirements. So it can't just be a one box fits all sort of approach to it. Every layer or every person that has a specific role, you need training specific to that role itself, whether it be manager, whether the person actually has access to your CUI data. You need to train for that so people know what to look for if someone's trying to get a hold of certain things. Or in the case of payments, your billing area is going to have a different training aspect than, say, your sales team or your engineering team. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be set up differently. You need to be able to measure it. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. You need to know that what you're putting in place and what you're training your employees are is actually sitting down, or they're actually understanding it, they're actually utilizing it, and they're actually learning from it and digesting the information.
KTL is a Microsoft Gold partner and a CMMC registered provider organization. Their professional team members represent a variety of backgrounds and industries that will map out and guide you on your road to CMMC compliance. The process starts with a dedicated team of CMMC registered practitioners who understand your specific requirements and are here to help every step of the way. KTL Solutions, delivering tailored solutions so you get the most out of your technology. Visit them today at ktlsolutions.com.
Two ways that can be done is obviously silent phishing. It's something that we utilize to where you send out fake phishing emails. They come from your training system, and they go out to people and see if you can actually catch someone to click on a link to open up an attachment that they shouldn't open, and keep track of that information. Obviously that helps you in a number of ways. One, reiterates the information that people are learning on a regular basis, and two, it catches to see if one of your employees just isn't picking up the lessons. You can send them for remediational training, get them more quizzes, and start seeing whether or not these people are actually understanding it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, regular reporting. If you're not keeping track of this stuff, why are you doing the training? Any board, any CEO is going to sit there and go, look, I'm paying, thousands of dollars for this every year. What's my ROI? But if you show the fact that when you started, 85% of your employees were clicking on malicious emails, the silent phishing emails, and 6 months later, we're down to 10%. Mm-hmm. That shows an ROI. That shows that his company is protected and that his data is going to be safe. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, lastly, it's got to be constantly updated and kept current. Everyone, as we mentioned earlier, knows about the Nigerian prints, the random USBs that you find on the floor. As we mentioned, the Amazon gift cards, the list goes on and on and on of things that we see on a regular basis that most everyone has heard of. But there are newer attacks that we get all the time. Case in point, there are phony charities. People will pop up charity of Hurricane Ida relief that just hit us. Well, you got to double check to make sure that that charity is a legitimate source, because if you click on the wrong thing, entering your credit card information, well, now someone's getting a free flight to Tahiti on you. The other thing that we see is invalid invoices, or people that are getting sent malicious attachments that you open up, you go ahead and try and look at the PDF, and you've just downloaded some ransomware, you've just downloaded malware inadvertently, and that's kind of where that entire threat is. So you need to know how to react to that and handle that. And of course, the other one that we mentioned earlier is the spear phishing for gift cards. So, Dana, I'm sorry, but those emails you sent me for the Amazon gift cards, I'm not getting those to you. So that's just not going to happen. But, those things you have to keep updating on a regular basis, because cyber attacks, they evolve. For the longest time, they were evolving monthly. Now they were weekly. Now it looks like they're evolving on an hourly basis. So you have to keep up to date, and you have to keep your people trained on it. And of course, continue to train it. It's a continuous thing that needs to keep happening. Our company, we do things in our system. We like to send out as 15-minute increments, kind of like going to the gym. You don't train for a marathon by just saying, hey, I'm going to go out and run 20 miles tomorrow. You do it in 3-mile stints until you're ready to run for that marathon.
Yep. And I think that we also need to remember too that the non-technical staff, which I'm always talking about, is sometimes causing the biggest problems when it comes to this stuff, because they aren't technical people. They don't know, and they think, well, if anything comes up, it's going to be the IT departments. They'll deal with it. They love to turn back and say, well, we don't really have anything to do with that. That's the IT department. And it's not. This has to be a culture within an organization that everybody understands. We're thinking about this with every move that we're making, that there could possibly be something that's malicious behind all this. So I don't know how we get that into everybody's head to, think like that on a regular basis.
Well, that's actually one of the things with CMMC is, what they're looking for when we're implementing this is that when you go for those audits, you're not going to be sitting there and saying, okay, slapped everything in place yesterday, let's go for our audit. That's not going to happen. What the companies and the assessors are wanting to look for is a cultural change. That's really been pushed out as an RPO, which is what Summit is they're looking for cultural change. How is this changing how your company does things? And like you said, your non-technical employees can be part of the risk. We always tell people that the worst defense against cyber intrusion and the best defense against cyber intrusion are the exact same people, your employees. It doesn't matter whether it's your technical employees, whether it's your receptionist, whoever, or non-technical employees, it's everybody. It has to be a culture that needs to be changed, needs to be handled.
Amen. All right. So the next question is, so how does somebody get started with something like this?
So one of the easiest ways to do it is to speak to an MSP like myself. We have a couple options available for you, one of which is specifically geared towards the CMMC Department of Defense space. That is completely customizable, provides silent phishing, regular reporting, and is constantly updated. And as I mentioned, it goes out on a more regular basis than, say, once a year for 2 hours. We like to do 15-minute clips every now and again. So a cup of coffee. You sit down, you watch a video, take a quiz, and then that's it for the month. But it is a lot more recurring. Like I said, you don't go out and run a marathon tomorrow. You build up to that point. You have to build the muscles, and that's the way we look at training. So, contacting someone like myself, biztech.com, or there are other firms out there that have other options as well. Reach out to your local MSP or your IT service provider. They probably have something sitting there available for you.
That's very good. Very good. This is all very good advice. And I think that I like the digestible, small, little bite-sized pieces, because that's the only way that we're going to get buy-in with everybody anyway. Because when you make them sit through it, once a year, 2-hour thing, and by the end of the 2 hours, like, just get me out of here. I don't care.
You get the glaze over. And I worked in IT, not going to say exactly how many years, but a lot of years. The gray hair kind of will show you how many years it's been. And yeah, even myself, you tell me you guys sit through security awareness training for 2 hours once a year, and I go,
Yeah.
can I pull my eyelids over my head? Does that count? That would be less painful. But 15 minutes, sit down, cup of coffee in the morning while I'm getting my day started. Same amount of time, but it's a lot easier to take in.
That's perfect. That is perfect. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to throw out there before we go?
That's pretty much it. Like I said, summitbiztech.com. Feel free to reach out to us, take a look at our website, take a look at our services, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thank you very much for your time. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we hope to see you on the next episode. Till then.
Thanks for having me, Dana. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care.
You too.
This episode is brought to you by SteelRoot, a national leader in helping companies meet cybersecurity compliance requirements and prepare for CMMC. Their experienced team of engineers and consultants assist organizations of all sizes to implement and manage IT systems that meet the technical requirements in DFARS and CMMC.